Hi and welcome to Prepping Essentials. Subject of the video today is a question that crops up often in conversation and crops up all across the various videos on YouTube, and that is, why are people prepping? So I thought today I'd give you the top 5 reasons why I'm prepping, so here we go. Here in the UK, the prepping community is extremely small, especially when you compare it to the US, and the subject of prepping rarely crops up in casual conversation, let alone on the TV or in the national news media. There was, however, a brief spell of publicity a few years ago when some American reality TV shows such as Doomsday Bunkers and Doomsday Preppers found their way onto the UK TV screens. There was even a very brief copycat documentary produced in the UK featuring some UK preppers, but the publicity was short-lived and the subject was soon relegated back to the fringes of mainstream media and conversation. Having said that, if you take the time to search on Facebook or YouTube, you will find UK preppers are definitely out there, and many of them are forming small communities both online and offline to share their thoughts and experiences. A question which often crops up whenever the concept of prepping is being discussed, and certainly one which is the subject of many video uploads onto YouTube, is why are people prepping? It's a question which I've been asked myself, but I usually find that people seem to be surprised when I actually answer it. It would appear that the question is generally asked without any expectation of a considered or justifiable reply being offered in return. When you ask preppers why they're prepping, most will generally refer to a specific crisis or event that they perceive as being likely to happen, and which would have a negative impact on their ability to survive. This might be seen as being a bit dramatic, but it is perfectly understandable. For me, however, prepping's more of a lifestyle designed to make me as self-sufficient as possible, as I have a strong dislike of having to depend on others for my basic needs. Having said that, there are a number of issues which could have a negative impact on my life and my abilities to survive, which are totally beyond my control. So I thought I would share with you my own top 5 reasons why I'm prepping. The first of these is unemployment. This is perhaps the more credible disaster that most people could imagine, but they rarely prepare for. Unemployment can come about for a variety of reasons, such as a personal injury accident, the onset of a long-term medical condition, the company you work for might start cost-cutting or even go out of business completely, and sudden unemployment can have a catastrophic effect on family life and can quickly lead to the loss of the family home, forced sale of possessions, and to significant personal, relationships and health problems. Next on my list is the potential issue of economic collapse. Significant downturns in the economy of a country routinely occur as part of the natural economic cycle. However, from time to time, these become more severe and turn into a recession, or worse, an almost total economic collapse. The UK has seen significant recessions pretty much every decade since the 60s. The most significant and memorable of these would be in 2008, when the economic crisis literally spread around the world, causing major companies to collapse and countries being forced to apply significant austerity measures, such as drastic cuts to levels of social and public services, wage freezes, and the devaluations of the currencies. In addition to causing unemployment, economic downturns also drive down wage rates for those still in work and drive up prices for basic commodities and services, so the entire population is affected, not just the unemployed. With the last major recession being in 2008 and the ongoing uncertainty connected to the UK leaving the European Union, the UK is well overdue for some form of economic downturn. The next on my list is the loss of essential utilities and supply chain, which most people refer to as a grid down situation. The world is becoming ever more interconnected and interdependent. Here in the UK, like most developed countries, our entire economy is built upon a supply chain of goods and services which is organised to be as time and resource efficient as possible. Deliveries of supplies are made as close as possible to the time that they'll need to be used. This is called just-in-time delivery, which means that if a petrol station or a supermarket is not resupplied on a daily basis, then their stocks will run out. Businesses and indeed homes are also becoming more interconnected and dependent upon the internet for managing their business operations. Many industrial processes or entire facilities are automated. Transportation grids, such as railways, roads and airports, are entirely computer controlled. Banking systems depend on the internet to dispense cash machines or to take payments in stores. The entire country is dependent on an elderly and overloaded mains utility distribution infrastructure, which over recent years has struggled to keep pace with our increasing demand for energy. The UK is wholly reliant on imports from overseas to meet its energy demands. We import gas and oil from around the world, we import electricity from Europe, and in the peak of summer we routinely need to take urgent steps to reduce water consumption or risk running out completely. Our fragile utility supply infrastructure is exposed to a range of potential threats of breakdowns or collapse, not least of which is due to its age and the fact that many of the major components required in the event of a breakdown are manufactured and imported from overseas, and these can take up to a year from order to delivery. Damage routinely occurs due to extreme weather events, but there's also the growing risk of damage caused by a terrorist attack, either directly or more worryingly via the internet in the form of a cyber attack. Next on my list is the risk of a pandemic. The risk of an infectious disease starting in some faraway country and then spreading rapidly to the UK has greatly increased during the past few decades. This is mainly thanks to the ease of global travel via the commercial airline network system. Indeed, the UK has seen many cases in recent years of people becoming ill due to contagious illnesses such as influenza and even more exotic viruses such as Ebola, which they've contracted overseas and then brought back with them to the UK. The majority of the UK population live or work in major urban areas. Vast numbers of people regularly commute significant distances each day on our overcrowded transport system. This, coupled with the spread of national and international travel, means that the spread of any form of infectious disease can happen at extraordinary speed. Bearing in mind that our economy depends on achieving maximum productivity from the minimum amount of people, any illness which caused the sudden inability of large numbers of people to attend for work would immediately lead to a collapse in the availability of essential goods and services. In other words, a grid-down situation. The last issue on my list is that of civil disorder. If any of the major crisis scenarios which we've talked about in this video were to occur, and they were to last for a significant period of time without being resolved, it's highly likely there'd be a major breakdown in law and order. Clearly, the larger the area which is affected by the crisis, then the more likely it is that civil order would quickly result. The emergency services already struggle to cope with demand whenever there's an isolated large-scale emergency event. It's beyond doubt, therefore, that were a significant or multiple outbreaks of civil disorder occurred, then the emergency services would be quickly overwhelmed. Indeed, given the large-scale cuts to our armed forces over recent decades, it's also questionable if the military would be able to maintain effective control over the majority of the country over a prolonged period of time. Anyway, those are my top 5 reasons for prepping. There are lots of other potential disasters out there which could occur. If you take time to look at some of the other prepping websites or YouTube channels, you'll find lots of other topics for conversation about events that people are prepping for. And while I don't discount any of those disasters from occurring, I do think that the ones that I've listed on this video are probably amongst the most likely that could occur, and I feel fairly sure that some probably will occur in the non too distant future. Anyway, thanks for watching today. Look forward to seeing you in future videos. If you've liked the video, then please do click on the like button, and if you like the channel, then please do click on the subscribe button. As always, I welcome all of your comments, suggestions, questions. I do take time to read the comments, and if I do see any questions on there, I do try my very best to answer them as quickly as I can. So thanks for looking, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.